Oh boy, and we are back for another episode of Fight Night Picks Kicks. We're going to preview the entire card, all 7 fights. I see everybody popping off in the chat. That's going to get really busy, so make sure you get in there quick. And also, if you can help us out with the super chat, we really appreciate it, but it's easier to see it as well. And yeah, there's a lot of fights that are canceled, that are off the card. So we'll get to those very shortly, but I really want to thank Ringside Beer Store for helping out the channel. Make sure you check them out, ringsidebeerstore.com. Use the promo code FNP. You're going to save 25% off your order today. I know a lot of you have already been heading over there, checking them out. They've got awesome merch. They've got really good tap handles. I got the boxing glove tap handle. I've got the MMA glove tap handle. Really cool stuff. So make sure you check them out. Ringsidebeerstore.com for Fight Night Picks viewers only. Use promo code FNP. And without further ado, you know what I'm going to say. Let's get into it. Fight Night Picks is brought to you by Vertiball. Head on over to their website. It's vertiball.com. And listen, it's an awesome product. It's a local company out of New Brunswick, Canada. So make sure you support those guys locally as well as Fight Night Picks. But they're the only mountable portable muscle massager. They can stick on any smooth surface. They've got an industrial strength suction cup. Can support over 100 pounds of pressure. You can get really into those deep knots. I have one here at home. I use it for my back and my shoulders from holding up that Fight Night Picks Pick'em trophy. But listen, make sure you check them out. It's a great product. Like I said, they're recommended by physiotherapists, masseuses, and chiropractors across Canada, the US, UK, and Australia. And they're used by countless professional athletes like Minkah Fitzpatrick on screen there, as well as Clelin Ferrell of the Raiders. So if you head into the cart, make sure you check them out. So I've got a Vertiball massager in my cart right there. Use the promo code FNP. You're going to save 10% off your order. You're supporting this company here that I'm very passionate about in New Brunswick, Canada, and you're helping out us as well. So make sure you check them out, vertiball.com, promo code FNP, 10% off your order. And without further ado, let's get into it.
It's time
for 15 minutes of non-stop MMA, tackling the biggest news in the sport. Head into the chat and let us know how you feel. Live from Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, here's your host, Craig Allen.
Oh boy, busy week in MMA. Really appreciate everybody tuning in. As always, one half of your co-hosting duo at Craig Allen FNP. I appreciate Akash Deep, SAPT, Edward Wagner. Really appreciate you guys hopping off in the chat. Listen, that's always great. Now, I'm going to whip through the comments here really quick. If this is the first time that you're joining, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Now, one of the changes that we made this week, getting ready for this card, of course, I was out of province, so we did everything kind of over the airwaves and not in person. But I had the chance to pop it up there to see if anybody could hop on over to the Instagrams, because those picks are popping off. And as of now, there's hundreds of votes in there for some of these fights on this card. That's what we're doing in this show. Like I said, if it's the first time that you're tuning in, I thank you. And what we're going to do here today, we're going to go down through the 7 fights. There's only 7 fights on this card. So it's going to be interesting to see what we're going to get. I know I was on the opposite side of the fence. I was thinking that DeLima was going to beat Romanov. I was all over him. I know everybody was, going with Romanov, but not me. I mean, listen, DeLima, really good kickboxing, really, really bad takedown defense, but the jiu-jitsu to prove it. I thought it would be a lot of fun, but unfortunately that fight's out. You got Thiago Moises, he's out of his fight with Jalin Turner. You've got Kevin Natividad. He was supposed to be weighing in at his hotel waiting for a COVID test result. Must have been positive, so the fight not happening. Again, the chat is going insane. I'll hop over to you. Usman, I really appreciate you. Austin Laxon saying, who do y'all got tonight, OSP or Menifield? Answer that one in the chat. Let us know as we continue on. Donnie Taylor, what's up? You're doing a Canadian impression? Oh, hey there, bud. You gotta hit up your double and your ice caps there if you're gonna get ready with the Canadian accent. It's kind of like the cheesy Minnesota accent if you want. That's what I go for with the Canadian accent, unless it's just me talking. But again, yeah, a lot of fights off of this card. Possible performance of the night, like I said, with that DeLima fight taking on Romanov. That was a fight that I was looking forward to most on this card, but we still have Ahmadiyev taking on Paeja, so take that for what it's worth. It should be a great one. Again, chat's popping off. I see OSP from Anthony Morrow saying OSP by St. Preux choke. Yeah, you got to call it the St. Preux or the Von Preux choke and merge those two together. Frankie's got OSP. Let's see, Usman's got OSP. Wizardov Buzz, I mispronounced that. I apologize. But hey, how's it going? Listen, last weekend, I'll say it before we get right into it, 10 out of 10. That's never happened before. Matt went 9-1. I mean, that's just insane. So we had a lot of fun last weekend. It was kind of crazy because there was a lot of fights like we have on this card where which way is it going to go? Which way is it going to go? Mr. Luxury hitting us up. Like I said, super chat, and I can see it. But I'm going to rip down through this card. We're going to start making our picks. We start all the way at the bottom. I might have to click through some fights that aren't going to happen, but I do have the graphic that I made up for Kelleher and Rodriguez. So, as Emmanuel Rodriguez asked, Hunter Azure? Question marks? Yeah, I mean, listen, if we look over on Instagram at the poll votes, 102 voters have Hunter Azure to 31 with Cole Smith. So make sure you check out the Instagrams. That's the last time I'm going to talk about it. But Hunter Azure coming in here against Cole Smith. Now, a lot of people are going with Cole Smith. I get it that it's 3-1 for Azure versus Smith. And I'll pull up, the odds just for fun. So at this point, Hunter Azure is sitting around a -250. You got Cole Smith around a +200. So that's where they're at right now. Having a hard time bringing up the averages on best fight odds, because apparently they don't want to work for that fight. So we'll go with it. We'll go about a, -250 to -300. And Emmanuel's saying, what's with Hunter Azure? Nothing wrong with Hunter Azure as long as, maybe you know something that I don't. But Hunter Azure in this one, I like the pressure. I like the volume. We saw him in his last fight where the commentary was kind of talking about nice low kick, leaving himself exposed. And that was the issue. Kelleher went in there, hook, good night, see you later, Hunter Azure. First career loss. He was undefeated as an amateur, undefeated as a pro. We'll see how he handles it here. I think he's going to handle it just fine. Cole Smith also losing his first pro fight in his last time out, but he didn't get knocked out. He ended up losing a decision. It was a very close decision. I know Matt and I talked about that in the original prediction type of fight. Now, Frankie56 brings up a really good point. Azure shouldn't be a -250 against anybody. Well, I don't know if I totally agree with you, but I see where you're coming from because he left himself exposed. Now, in that Katona fight, you know what Brad Katona brings into these fights. And listen, Azure did beat a Canadian in Brad Katona, so take that for what it's worth. Katona had flashes there. Obviously, Azure won out. Now, again, Cole Smith, I mean, Muay Thai guy. He's had Muay Thai fights in Thailand. He's much taller, has a good amount of reach. I see Joseph saying what happened to the Turner fight. It's not happening. And Brandon Sanders, why such a favorite? I mean, you look at quality of wins. That's the thing to me. You look at Cole Smith, and even if we go in the last five, and again, both of these guys, in their last fives, it's not like they're beating the top of the top competition. We look at Hunter Azure, Jaime Hernandez at 4-2 in LFA, LJ Schultz 6-4, Chris O'Con 4-0, Brad Katona again, and for Smith, Tyler Dolby 2-0. Carlos Galvan, 3-2. Tyler Wilson, who I've seen fight before, with what was it? FA Legends. Whatever it was. Fight Atlantic Legends, it wasn't Fight Atlantic, because Fight Atlantic, nice guy in Cat. But anyway, FA Legends 7, Tyler Wilson fought there. And then, obviously, you get Cole Smith coming in, and he beats Mitch Gagnon, so that's pretty cool. All of this to say, I think Azure is going to be able to get the win. I'm going to stick with my original pick there. I see, again, a lot of people not overly sure. Sosa saying, so annoying, man, only 7 fights, and I have 5 parlays. Yeah, that's a shame. This card's going to be down to 5 fights before it even starts, is what Eric Rivas is saying. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, realistically, I start these shows an hour before the prelims start. They threw the prelims up a lot further. Charlie Chips, you're just joining us saying Romanov fight is off. Yeah, I know. It sucks. But hey, let's get excited about these fights. Everybody that's here, you're all fight fans. And listen, I mean, it's good that at least we have something to root for. So I'm going to go with Azure. There's a fair amount of people going with Cole Smith. But like I said, I'm sticking with Azure. And I'm looking forward to this fight. It should be all action. Hunter Azure, the other X factor for me too is the fact that Azure, he's got that wrestling background. I know it didn't go well for him. Injuries kind of derailed like a collegiate career. High school wrestling, he was quite good. MMA is kind of like football. People will always talk about their pedigree in terms of high school football and high school wrestling, but it does sometimes matter, and you can see that a base like that is typically the best base that you could have in MMA right now. So for all of those reasons, I'm going to stick with Azure, but it should be a good one, and maybe the BC boy and Cole Smith gets the win. now we move into the next fight. Well, this fight's off between Marcos Rogerio de Lima and Alexander Romanov, and it should be a good one. Now, Eric Rivas, I really appreciate it. Let's see. James Sturts, Craig versus CM Punk. Who wins? CM Punk beats me every single day of the week. I'm 165 on a good day, and I know CM Punk weighed 170. I could probably make it. I think I'd be a little bit taller than him. He would definitely beat me. I bet you he could knock me out. I mean, it's CM Punk. This is Chick Magnet Punk that we're talking about. So, let's get into this fight. I want to know what people are thinking with the picks for this one. You got Bartosz Fabinski, you've got Andre Muniz, and I see a lot of people going with Muniz this week, which was a bit of a surprise because, honestly, again, I'm not using the word lock ever again, but Bartosz Fabinski, to me, in his last fight, looked like an absolute world beater. He's taken Darren Stewart down the entire fight. Darren Stewart's not a bad wrestler. He's not a great wrestler. He's not a terrible wrestler. Bartosz Fabinski looked great. Now, Sosa saying I had big bags on Muniz by third-degree armbar. It is what it is. Brandon saying no, you'd whoop CM Punk just using a triangle. Yeah, maybe I could. I mean, I've got long, gangly arms. Dried, spicy, shredded squid is taking me against CM Punk. Listen, I appreciate it, guys, but this probably never going to happen. Paeja saying, yeah, Muniz. Let's see. Fanatical Jim. Muniz getting steamed late down to plus 110. Yeah, let's bring the odds up here and have a look at this one. I see at one point he was plus 138 average on best fight odds. Now he's sitting at plus 117. You're right. It seems like there is a lot of money coming in on Andre Muniz. I'm going to stick with the pick of Bartosz Fabinski. I know Muniz looked bigger at weigh-in day when they did the face-off. But again, I'm going to stick with the pick of Muniz. You really have to do a lot to sway me away from a pick from Monday, Tuesday to Saturday, unless something crazy happened at weigh-in day, which again, I don't put too much stock into, unless you miss weight really badly. But again, I'm going to stick there. Let's see what else. Akash Deep helping us out. I appreciate you. Craig by Savage knockout over CM Punk. Let's call him out. Let's see what happens. Don't call him out. Please don't call him out. I don't want that smoke. Guani Mateus is saying Fabinski wins probably by sub. Artem steps in instead of Romanov. I asked Artem Lobov a question when they fought in Moncton. He fought who? Michael Johnson in the co-main event. And I asked him if he switched up training camps or if he watched tape on guys, and he gave me a really weird answer. So go back and watch that. My camera wasn't in focus. You can find it on the channel, but he definitely didn't like that question. So it is what it is. I'm sticking with Bartosz Fabinski. Great judo. I know Muniz is very accredited in jiu-jitsu. This is probably not going to be the most exciting fight, but there's only 7 fights, so something's got to be exciting on this one. So like I said, I'm going to stick with Bartosz Fabinski, but it should be a good one. All right, so we move into our next fight. You got Montana De La Rosa taking on Viviane Araujo. I'm going to move back to the Fabinski fight. I'm going to give you the vote and polling results over from Fight Night Picks on Instagram, like we always do. So, 75 votes for Muniz, and you got 64 for Bartosz Fabinski. Very close. Percentage-wise, 54% to 46%. So, again, let's look at that next fight. Montana De La Rosa taking on Viviane Araujo. Joseph saying, I only see 6 fights, and I've seen some people saying that through the comments. The interesting thing there, where are you looking at it? Are you looking at it over on Tapology? Are you looking at it on DraftKings or FanDuel? Are you looking at it on like a Bodog or Bovada or whatever? Because sometimes they're not quick to change, and it's tough to try and figure it out. So while we talk that one out amongst ourselves over on the Twitters, I mean, I'll hit up Twitter just for fun. I don't see any other changes. Doesn't look like anything different. Yeah, it looks like everything else is good. Yeah, 7 fights. 7 fights. Sloppy seconds. Kelleher fight hasn't been listed. And Joseph on DraftKings. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for helping me out. Let's get into this fight. I mean, we've got Montana De La Rosa taking on Viviane Araujo. I see Martin D saying I've got Araujo on parlay. James is saying Bovada sucks. Ciro saying FanDuel still have 7. The interesting thing about FanDuel and DraftKings, I've got another FanDuel and DraftKings thing to talk about, and I might as well hit on it right after this fight. We'll get into it after De La Rosa Araujo, because again, like I posted in the community section, Derek Chung joining us. Derek, if you're out there, hit up the chat. I would really appreciate it. Chris Blanchard saying, will Romanov and Moises fights be rebooked? I hope they do. But again, yeah, you look at this, Viviane Araujo, great striking, really great pressure. Montana De La Rosa, really crafty. jiu-jitsu. It should be an interesting fight, but again, Viviane Araújo, quite a big favorite in this one. She's sitting at almost a 2-1. She opened as a -110. You had De La Rosa -110 as well at the +150 mark right now where we stand. So it's very interesting. Akashdeep saying that Bodog still has Karol Rosa taking on Eubanks. They do, because again, that's what it is. Sloppy seconds. Viviane looked extra tough at the weigh-ins. Maybe that's going to change my mind. No, I already had Viviane Araújo to win. If you look over on Instagram, 102 votes for Araújo, 37 for Montana De La Rosa. I'm sticking with Viviane Araújo. She had title aspirations. Not to say that Montana De La Rosa doesn't. You got Araújo coming off a loss. She's a really good fighter. And again, it sucks. I mean, at one point, I thought Jiyeon Kim had real title aspirations at one point, but it just didn't happen for her. So I've got Araújo in this fight over De La Rosa. Now I'm going to flip over to the interesting part of the show, the part that you didn't see coming. So Derek Chung, you can check it out. It's fightnightpicks.net. That's the website. We've had it since we started. That's where we started because I needed a place to host the podcast. So I put it there. And then, yeah, we've had articles there the whole time. So it's pretty cool. Make sure you check it out. But Derek wrote a really good article and has the graph. I can't point, but he's got the graphic over there. And he's going to be our fantasy expert, so to speak. He put together a great piece. So maybe if you're on mobile, it's kind of tough to read this. And also, let me know, do you like the logo below me? Because we've got the merch here, and I get a lot of people asking for merch. That's a logo that I personally like. Maybe people don't like the New Brunswick-Canada connection. It's too much Canada. Well, you let me know. I know Akash Deep's going to like it because he's Canadian. But all that thing being said, we look over at this, and I mean, Derek had a lot of good talking points here. I mean, the studs that he has, Alistair, Overeem in terms of DraftKings and FanDuel, pretty good opportunity. You look at it, I mean, is he your MVP? Is he your lock? Scott's asking for locks to this card. I'm not going to give it to you. No dice. No way, Scott. I don't do locks anymore. Because then you end up saying that, Maria Agapova's going to win. You say that Molly McCann's going to win. And it just doesn't happen. All right. So studs, you got Overeem. Now, the also consider was Brian Kelleher, but that was when he was going to be taking on Kevin Natividad. Now, obviously, that has changed because he's going to be taking on Ray Rodriguez on short notice. The value, Muniz against Bartosz Fabinski, so he's done a great job there. You look at it in terms of fades. Maceo saying, y'all are some Canadians. Well, I've been Canadian my whole life, so that's not going to change. Go Skittle, never too much Canada. Dried spicy squid, that logo's cool. All right, so what's going to happen? An NRAD hanging out. Phony saying violent Canadian leaf. Yeah, I know, right? Like, I like it. I think it's pretty cool. I'm going to put that logo on a t-shirt, and maybe you'll see it sometime soon. You look at the fades, Bartosz Fabinski, Hunter Azure in the fight taking on Cole Smith, the Canadian. And I mean, again, what he's got there, similar logic here. Hunter's path to victory is most likely to grind Smith out. You don't get a lot of points out of that. Exactly. You guys know that if you're DraftKings or FanDuel guys. The Pick'ems, OSP Menifield, Romanov, and Delima. Of course, that fight is off. And then again, general strategy. It's a tough one, and it's gotten even tougher because, of course, I mean, we've lost so many fights on this card and everything's changed. So we move it back here. I really appreciate the stuff that Derek's been doing. Hopefully we can bring that to you. Make sure you let us know more about that DraftKings type of content because that seems to be something that I don't get into it. I don't know enough about it. I know how it works, but it's not something that I fill my boots with. I just focus mainly on the picks. I parlay stuff in my own time. I do some crazy stuff in my own time. But yeah, it should be a good one. Now, we got Brian Kelleher taking on Ray Rodriguez. This is an interesting fight because you were originally scheduled for Brian Kelleher and Kevin Natividad as I go out of focus a little bit. Brian Kelleher, man, this is a guy that has so many fights against so many good opponents. The Jimmy Rivera fight, he's fought Julio Arce twice. He's fought really good competition in the UFC. He's fought some guys that he should have, realistically beaten. Igor's going way too nuts in the chat. I'm sorry, buds. We know that Fabinski's off. So please stop letting us all know. All right, so boom. That left hook, you got to watch out for it. Really good boxing. Ray Rodriguez, he can grind on you because Ray Rodriguez, out of all of his wins, I mean, I put together, a little bit of an interesting background on him. But you might recognize him from Contender Series last summer. He fought Tony Gravely. He lost the decision. He's a great fighter, Tony Gravely. I mean, a really good wrestler. Guy that was with CES for a long time. Ray Rodriguez, you've seen him bounce around with a lot of those smaller U.S. promotions. He's fought in LFA. He's main evented with LFA. He's a Texas guy. LFA loves to go to Texas. And here we go. I mean, we look at it. He lost that fight to Gravely in Contender Series. Then he fought in November of last year with Combate. Beat a guy with a salty record. I mean, it was a good win for him. Got a finish, but not something that I look into all that much. Now, if we look over at where he trains out of, Brazilian top team, Texas. You might recognize some of his training partners. Anthony Ivy. You also have Alexander Hernandez was the guy that used to train there. And yeah, I mean, he also owns a gym. It's called Ultimate Submission Academy. I was trying to think of it because it's USA, and he trained Alberto Del Rio to get ready for Tito Ortiz. How crazy is that? Now, in this fight, it's almost too tough to call. The odds that kind of jumped out off the page really quickly, you had Brian Kelleher opening up as a minus 450 favorite. It got all the way up as far as minus 275. Now he's trending around a minus 350. So yeah, it should be Brian Kelleher in this fight, but I wouldn't put anything on it because I think Ray Rodriguez can grind on him in this fight. I mean, Ray Rodriguez is the type of guy that if he's going to win, he's probably got to take it down to the mat. You look at Brian Kelleher, even somewhat lately. I mean, yeah, you've grown accustomed to the knockouts. I mean, he lost that fight against Cody Stamann, but something like that's going to happen. But the Montel Jackson Darce choke, that really worries me. Again, he had that knockout loss to John Lineker, but the hands of stone is the hand of stone, and stuff like that's going to happen. I see Akashdeep saying Ray is way too short notice, especially look not great at weigh-ins. But again, yeah, I'd stay away from this one. I'm gonna pick Kelleher. Let's see. Nick is saying that, I mean, you throw me off track, but that's fine because you're saying that Fabinski's off too. I haven't seen that, and I really hope not. Don't tell me that fight's off. Oh, no. Michel Paeja is still fighting. Let's see. Phony with the super chat, the $5 super chat. I appreciate you. I'm going to look. Let's see. Looks like it's still on. So I'm going to say it's still on, but you let me know. James Sturts is saying, Craig, how do you manage to watch every fight ever? It's just something that I do and I enjoy. So it's going to happen. All right, so we're going to leave it there. I'm taking Kelleher. If we look over on the Instagrams, I did post this one. 65 votes for Brian Kelleher to 12 for Ray Rodriguez. Mr. Luxury with the $5 super chat. I appreciate you as well. I've got a couple million down on Overeem. If we win, I'll need 100 FMP t-shirts ordered. Let's do it. Kyle Kelly with the $6.99. Hey, thanks again for your winning week. Really appreciate you guys and what you do for your fans. Well, I appreciate it as well. Listen, everybody in the chat knows this. I'm not going to go 10 for 10 every weekend. I mean, I'd be lucky, and I say this, but you know what I mean? Like if I went 4-3 on this one, because it's a tough one. It really is. But yeah, I really appreciate everybody tuning in. It's the best part of the week to have this show. Ciro's helping me out. Still on, guys. A-okay. Eric Rivas saying Kelleher by sub. No, he's not going to submit Ray Rodriguez. Rodriguez used to fight at featherweight, so I don't see him getting submitted. I know he's a smaller guy, but yeah, he whittled his way down to 35. Obviously, this fight at 45. Kelleher's been at 45 for a bit here now. I know he's a bantamweight, but he's been finding success. Even the Stamann fight, I know he lost, but the circumstances around that one, a lot of fun. Michel Paeja, Zelim Ahmadiyev. This should be an awesome fight. Both guys are finishers. Both guys out there to put on a good show. I know Zelim Ahmadiyev hasn't looked great, but in his debut against Max Griffin, that fight was really close. And then, yeah, the fight against Hot Chocolate, Danny Roberts. I mean, it's funny because you look at former common opponents. Zelim Ahmadiyev got finished by Danny Roberts. Michel Paeja finished Danny Roberts. I like watching Danny Roberts. It's a lot of fun. Donnie Taylor, love the humility. Well, listen, I mean, you got to be humble in victory and humble in defeat. And it happens. Sometimes you don't have good weeks. It's just going to happen. I mean, people fill up the chat and say all kinds of nasty things in the comments after the fact and hit me up in the DMs. But hey, things happen. So 3 guys, 1 puck. Keep the train going. 3 guys, 1 puck. I saw you on Twitter. And yeah, listen, I mean, big Clayton Keller fans. Big Yotes fans. Samuel Acosta saying, hey, Craig, what's your lock of the night? Samuel Acosta, not going to do a lock of the night. It always comes back to bite me, but maybe I'll dive into that when I recap all the picks. And Sosa saying, hey, Craig, why don't you do live streams while fights are on? Because I like to have a couple of pops and go on Twitter and then update everything on YouTube and update stuff on Instagram. That's why. And I don't get a lot of time to spend with my wife because we're doing stuff like this and I edit videos and all that. But that's a conversation for another day. We're having fun here. So let's dive into this fight. Let me know what you're picking here. We've got Zelim Imadaev, Michel Paeja. And like I said, I mean, Zelim Imadaev, really good boxing background. Michel Paeja, absolute wild man. Very good at dancing. Very good at expending a lot of energy walking to the octagon, jumping off of the cage. He does a lot of crazy stuff. Yeah, I mean, he's an insane person. And again, he does not look like a guy that's 26 years old. Isn't that what he is now? Let's even pull up my graphic. Hey, he's 26. I'm 26. That guy's 26. There's no way. It's insane. But it should be a really good fight. I'm really looking forward to it. But I'm going to stick with the pick again of Michel Paeja. I think he brings a much more diverse skill set. The only thing that makes me worried is the fact that the kid gets tired. The kid really gets tired. And if Zelim Imadaev can get it moving, yeah, that'll happen. Matt the Mix saying, does pot mean beer? It means beer. It means beer. I appreciate the super chat. It definitely means beer. I like to drink some beers. Love beers. Anyway, Sloppy Second saying Ahmadiyev loves to spin like Paeja likes to do flips. Yeah, Akash Deep, how old's Matt? He's 20, turns 22 shortly. That is what it is. Guani Mateus saying, dude looks my age, 50. Ali hitting us up with the lock of the night saying Araujo. Counterpunch MMA Paeja by John Vellante choke. Yeah, you know what? The worst part of this fight is if it goes to a third round. I hope it doesn't. I'm going to stick with Paeja, but we'll see what happens. And Phony saying Pop is soda in the USA. Pop is soda in Canada too. It depends on the places you are in the USA. Because I know in New England, when I go over there, soda is soda. Like if you're going to get an orange pop, that's soda. And a good story about Matt is the best part about Matt. We were on a train one time. Matt went into the spot where they had the food. And he's like, can I get an orange pop? And the guy's like, you mean soda, right? And it scared him right off because he was a kid. It was a lot of funny. That was a terrible show. Seems like everybody likes pop. All right, so we get into our co-main event. Ovince Preux taking on Alonzo Menifield. This should be a good fight because you got two finishers. And this fight, kind of like the last fight between Paeja and Ahmadiyev, you can kind of liken them. I mean, Alonzo Menifield, heavy hands, good forward pressure, hits really hard. That's what heavy hands means. I'm just kind of repeating myself. But Alonzo Menifield, you know what you're going to get. He lost his first fight in his last time out. Jordan McMillan hitting us up. But again, yeah, I mean, Alonzo Menifield, he didn't do all that great against Devin Clark. Like, I thought Clark had a really good fight, and a good path to victory, and he executed on that one. So it's tough. I mean, Alonzo Menifield in this one, he's pretty well got to go in there and flash knockout or earn a flash knockout against Ovince Preux. Now, Nick saying, doesn't Matt get free stuff because people think he's Michael Cera? That's the best comment I've ever seen, and I'm not joking. And ER saying St. Preux let me down in his last fight. Let me down too, because I was pretty high on Ovince Preux to beat Ben Rothwell, and he didn't look good. And maybe it was because all the added weight. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's he's had so many fights and he's this far into his career. I'm going to stick with Ovince Preux. Over on Tapology, you can find me. Fight Night picks on Tapology. You can find some of the picks there. I went weird last week, and for some reason with the picks on there, I went Cyphers instead of Martin. But if you watch this show, 10 out of 10, we got it right. It was a lot of fun. Now, again, Ovince Preux, to me, second round submission. Menifield's got to go in there, do what he did in his last fight, get tired, and then St. Preux is going to be able to get the win. If we look over on the Instagrams, we've got 103 votes for Ovince Preux to 52 for Alonzo Menifield. Might be a little bit of a surprise there. Just going to check and see if there were any extra votes. Yeah, there was an extra 2 on either side, so 104 for OSP, and you got 54 for Alonzo Menifield. So take that for what it's worth. Seems like some people are going with Ovince Preux. And again, with the lock of Overeem over Sakai. So we look at our main event. I'll flip it back over to that screen with Derek Chung's breakdown. His stud of the week is Alistair Overeem. I think that's pretty interesting. considering, you worry about him. Is he chinny? Is it something that is going to play a factor in here? I think the value is pretty good. You're going to have a lot of people taking him as their MVP, and that's just the way it's going to go. And for me, if I look at it and I flip back over here, and from my perspective, I'm looking over at the odds. Alistair Overeem right now, he opened as a minus 270. A lot of late money come in on Sakai, and now it's going back down on Overeem. I'm sticking with Overeem. Owen Young hanging out. Oh, bud, it's been a long time. A friend from across the pond. But yeah, this should be a good fight for Alistair Overeem in here. I just think if you watch any of Augusto Sakai's fights, well-rounded enough, good Muay Thai, but he gets backed up. He looks to counter-strike. He uses his length well, but in his fight against Blagoy Ivanov, that was a tough one. He was tired in the third round. The fence grab was bad. It's a fight where Alistair Overeem is better in every single category, but if his chin's totally shot, then maybe he doesn't win. I see Kanak Shukre is saying, I don't trust Reem's chin, and that's all of my money on Sakai. And hopefully I pronounced your YouTube name somewhat close to what it is. But yeah, I'm sticking with Overeem. I see somebody else can't place bet on Overeem versus Sakai, only placing bet on it not going to decision. Hooked on Kicks is hanging out. Hooked on Kicks. How's it going? But yeah, Mitchell Williams with the pass. Counterpunch MMA. Again, Overeem is a lock. Anthony Morrow, 8 units on Overeem. So yeah, it seems like everybody's going to go with Overeem. If we look over on Instagram, 139 votes for Overeem to 18 for Sakai. That's 89% on Overeem. I put out a pretty early one on this one to keep it with Overeem. Sloppy second saying Dan Hardy did a great tape study on this fight. The trouble is, I'd love to do the tape study and the videos like Dan Hardy does, but I'm too afraid that... Again, you get the channel strikes or whatever, and I see Sosa saying War Room fans know what's up. I watch it too. I love it, and I'd love to do it, but it's just, again, it's the trouble that you're probably going to get struck from YouTube and then bye-bye Fight Night picks. So I'm not going to mess with that, and I don't need that mojo, but I'm going to stick with Overeem for the pick here. If we flip back over to the DraftKings, and the fantasy aspect from this, you still have a chance with Overeem, Muniz in the fight against Fabinski. I have Fabinski, but I can see where a lot of people are going with Muniz. Azure may be a fade. I get it in terms of that end of things and the fantasy angle. And then the pick'ems being Ovince, Preux, and Menifield. And of course, you don't have that fight between a couple of tough outs in Marcos Rogerio de Lima and Alexander Romanov. I was really looking forward to that debut. So we still got some time. It's been a quick show because we don't have a lot of fights on this card. But if we look at it, Cole Smith taking on Azure. I've got the American. It's a shame I can't pick the Canadian. I've got Azure to beat Smith. It should be a good fight. I think the odds are a little bit out of whack. I think they should be a bit closer together. Maybe not a lot of people giving Cole Smith credit. And I think if he can establish distance early, and really and I know Azure's got to wear on Smith. He's got to grind him. But I do think that Cole Smith has a chance. I'm just going to stick, like I said, with Azure as my pick. So then we look up. We got Bartosz Fabinski taking on Andrea Muniz. A lot of people have Muniz. I'm going to stick with the pick of Fabinski. I think, again, in terms of grinding on a fighter and wearing Muniz out, I think Fabinski can do that. I don't think he's going to get submitted in this one. Odin Turnbull saying, why is your Matt never on question mark kicks? Because he works on Saturday night until 11 p.m. Atlantic, so that's why he's not here. That's normally when we do our picks, is after he's done work, so it's very late by the time that we do them, whatever night we end up doing them. I'm sticking with Fabinski. If you disagree with me, well, then that's fine. We got Montana De La Rosa going against Viviane Araujo. I said I didn't want to use the word lock, and I'm not going to use the word lock, but if we could get dangerously close to a lock, and maybe we're talking about, like a zip tie on something, Viviane Araujo, I think she's going to be able to get the win here. I'm really looking forward to this fight as well. It should be a good one in terms of seeding in the women's flyweight division, and I think that Viviane Araujo definitely has the tools in this one to get the win. So we move up. We've got Kelleher taking on the newcomer, Ray Rodriguez. Awesome to see that Rodriguez is getting a shot, but I'm sticking with Brian Kelleher to get the win. I think he's, again, in terms of having all the tools, I think he definitely has them. Ray Rodriguez he's just got to go in there, try and take Kelleher down. Might not be the easiest thing. On short notice, it's one of those ones that I wouldn't touch. So I'm going to stick there. Then we look at this fight. We got Michel Paeja taking on Zelim Ahmadiyev. it's a possible fight of the night. This is, I guess, your fight of the night now. Two absolute wild cards because Paeja's lost his last two. He gassed in the Connolly fight. He kneed Diego Sanchez illegally. Zelim Ahmadiyev, did he beat Max Griffin? I don't know. Or was it a draw? I guess that was the question because it was 10-9, 10-9, 10-8, roughly. I know he lost it. And then you look at it, Michel Paeja. I mean, the guy's a wild man. He's got just crazy moves. He's the type of guy that's going to moonsault on you and possibly do it illegally. But sticking with Michel Paeja there. Ovince Preux over Menifield for me. And then I've got Overeem over Sakai. So again, just to recap, I've got Azure, I've got Fabinski, I've got Araujo, Kelleher, Paeja, OSP, Overeem. I haven't changed any of my picks. I'm really looking forward to this card. Craig, I'm parlaying all of your picks as plus 2,000. Charlie Chips, I gotta say, it was a 10 out of 10 week last week. Who knows what could happen here? You got a lot of really weird fights. Again, you're saying, plus 2,000, but let's look at it right now. How many underdogs out of that do I have? Azure's a favorite. Fabinski's a slight favorite. Araujo's a favorite. Kelleher's a favorite. Paeja's a favorite. OSP's my only underdog, I guess. And then Alistair, Overeem. So, yeah, sometimes people give us a hard time about picking favorites, but listen, you got to pick who you can see winning, and that's how that goes. The wise little goat saying how many fights on this card. Yeah, you've got a total of 7. And to go back to a tweet from earlier, Jay Petrie said, as it stands now with 7 fights, UFC Vegas 9 has the fewest bouts since the Ultimate Fighter 2 finale in November of 2005. And then I've got a message, somebody asking me who's going to win between Kelleher and Rodriguez. They're just not hanging out with us here. That's always fun. Sosa, Goats, just being a wise guy and tossing out fights that aren't actually done. So, I hope everybody enjoys the card when it actually happens. As always, you can find us at Fight Night Picks on Instagram. That's where all the voting takes place. There's like 100 people that joined this week. I know I toss that in all the prediction videos, but I really do appreciate that. Tell your friends about us. We're having fun. It's always fun. And normally during the fights, I know somebody had asked earlier, I believe it was Sosa, that asked, why don't we go live during the fights? I'm always on Twitter. I've always been a Twitter guy, so you can find me there during the fights at Craig Allen FNP. And yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. Lil C Beats just near the end saying favorite dogs in this one. I've only got one and it's OSP. So I'm really looking forward to it. Everybody having a good time. Thanks for joining in this week. Enjoy the fights. And as always, like we like to say, let's get into it.
It's time
For 15 minutes of non-stop MMA, tackling the biggest news in the sport. Head into the chat and let us know how you feel. Live from Fredericton, New